Kolosey, Director of Media, Text, and Digital Learning, and for this episode today we are going to be talking about an exciting event that just occurred on March 8th, 2018 at Seminole Middle School. And I have with me Mike McCullough, who is a teacher at Seminole Middle School, and he was the creator, inspiration, who put all this together. Mike, welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us what you do in your job.
I am a STEM teacher. It's kind of the new catchphrase in science and math, and it combines both science and math to give students hands-on world projects. A lot of it is basically students. I drop some sort of engineering challenge on the students, and the students basically have to figure it out on their own. I may give notes, about the science or math up to that project, but really it's the students finding it out. I always tell them that they do better when they fail at a project because they learn more. If they get on the first try, they're just getting lucky and they're not understanding the principles maybe behind what we're working on. So for me, I'm always promoting, hey, just because you got it wrong this first time, restart it, redo it, see if you can make it better.
So Mike, how long have you been teaching?
I've been with Pinellas County for full-time. This is my 6th full year, but I was also a substitute teacher 2 years prior to that, so technically with the county 7 years.
So you're a young guy.
Yes.
But you're not just out of college.
No.
So what did you, well you might be, but what did you do before you came to teaching?
In prior life, I was a bartender. I served drinks. I was a waiter for different restaurants, which I've always said kind of prepared me for becoming a teacher because it was all about the communication aspect with the customer, and now that communication is with the parents and with the students themselves. To be a good bartender, to be a good waiter, you had to make connections with your customers. It's the same thing with students and parents. If you don't make the connections, then there's no real learning going on.
So did you just wake up one day and say, I think I'll be a STEM teacher?
No, I had a good boss early in my career kind of point me into that direction. I was in school to become a science teacher, and again, STEM was at the beginnings of where it's headed now. And I just kind of not really fell into it, but was kind of pushed into it, and now I'm very thankful because it's one of the greatest jobs I could ever have.
And so you've even gone forward now and completed a master's degree?
Yes, ma'am. I got my master's in STEM education at USF,
Wow.
St. Petersburg.
So within your STEM classes, what kinds of things are you teaching kids?
My 6th grade is basically an intro to STEM. We do a lot of applied chemistry, a lot of applied physics, basic electricity. So it's just an intro. It's just to open their eyes to what STEM is, because a lot of students hear that, but they don't understand what STEM really means. The 2nd year is when we really get into it. We do a design and modeling where they're doing AutoCAD program, they're doing technical drawings. The 2nd half of the year is all aerospace technologies where they're building hot air balloons, gliders, rockets, anything that gets up in the air. And then finally the 8th grade year is all about environmental science. We talk about energy circulates through the environment. We talk about alternative energy sources, what they can be as good stewards to the environment around them is basically what we're working toward. And really, what I'm hoping for is when they leave and go off to high school that they do have a background, that they now have a science vote. So because when they get to high school, they will go into that voting booth, and I'm hoping that they won't forget what they learned in 8th grade about the environment.
So on this show, we're all about digital learning.
Okay.
Where does digital cross your job?
Definitely, especially in my aerospace class and in the environmental science class. We do a lot of projects that are based off the computer. The gliders, the rockets, they'll design them on the computer. They have to learn the basics behind the science of those designs, but they do everything on the computer. We take that design, print it out on white computer paper, and then take that design and turn it into a glider or turn it into a rocket. So they're seeing the 3D on the computer, and then we actually bring it into the real world.
Did I hear you say AutoCAD?
AutoCAD program, yes ma'am. We use Autodesk. It's a high-tech program that a lot of architectural firms use. They would love to have as many people trained in that program. So we're getting them on the computers. It's very basic right now, but to see some of the things that they're making and producing, it blows in my mind. It blows me away. It's better than what I ever thought I could do.
So this event that inspired me to invite you, a Women in STEM seminar, conference?
Yes. Women in STEM breakfast is
breakfast,
what I like to call it.
Food is always a good thing.
And that is one of the things I thought I could get more participants if I threw food into it.
Right. So where did that come from?
When I was in school, I was finishing up my first degree, my bachelor's degree. My daughter was born, and I was sitting in some of my science classes, and I would be surrounded by men. And then when I would walk to my next class, which had to deal with my education aspect of my degree, it would be full with women. And to me, that disconnect was just amazing. Because literally, it would be a class full of 30 men and me, and then I'd literally move over and be 30 women and me. And just to me, that was I couldn't understand that. And I want my daughter to have the opportunities. I want her to be able to choose. Right now, she wants to be a pilot and the president. So, I mean, that opens up the door to a lot.
That covers it, right?
Right. With an actor. She says she wants to be an actor, too.
With a budding acting career, yes.
Which I'm like, well, at least that's already been done before.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she wouldn't be the first, right? So, so you started thinking then from there, what is this disconnect between women being in your science classes?
Correct. And then when having those, and talking to some of my girls, they just didn't understand that there were a lot of women out there who had broken the ceiling, these were the first time some of these women were in their careers, and they just didn't understand what that really meant. And so what I'm hoping is that by meeting and interacting with these professional women, they'll follow in their career paths. Do I expect every female that I, have the breakfast to become an engineer or become in a STEM career? No. But at least they're thinking about it. And studies show that if by 8th grade they don't like a science or a math class, it's really hard for them to get back into it. And I'm hoping that's really what happens, is that they're inspired to continue taking the higher level science and math classes.
So tell us a little bit about the structure of the event itself.
Yeah, I really wanted it to be, low key. I didn't want a lot of pressure for the professional women to come in, because a lot of them they were really nervous about, having to stand up and talk about themselves, which sometimes, can be hard, especially in front of a large group. So really what it ended up being, what it's evolved into being, is that the girls basically go on almost like a scavenger hunt. I give them, starter questions like, where did you go to school? What was your favorite subject? How did you become you? And what I tell the professional ladies right before is just expand on that, create the story, tell the story of you. Again, I don't want them to have to give a formal presentation. I just want our young scholars to see, hey, I'm just like her, or I'm kind of just like her, and I could head down that path.
So how did you recruit, find, invite? How did where did all those ladies come from?
That's a good question, and I said it the other day. I said I think I may have had too many ladies on this round, and a lot of people were laughing about it. But basically, I really just started on the internet and started searching in. Like, I would type in architects, and if I found a female architect, I emailed her. I would email, I emailed St. Petersburg General Hospital and said, hey, here's my event. Would it be interesting to you? And literally, it was just me emailing and making phone calls, and one thing led to another. I would meet somebody or talk to somebody, and they would open the door to 3 or 4 other people, and that person would open another door to somebody else, and it's just built. Literally, I had more women that wanted to come to this event. I kind of had to say no to a few people just because I didn't know how big it was going to be and if we could hold the space. Next year, I will definitely be expanding and making it bigger.
I had a chance to talk with a couple of the ladies that you invited, and one of them happens to be someone I know and connected you, and so I had a little interview with her. Let's hear what she had to say.
We have a small team for Fish and Wildlife Health, and we're the fish part. The wildlife part of health is in Gainesville. And a typical day will be we come in and we monitor our website and our phones for fishermen that contact us. And the fishermen, because again, we're a very small team, the fishermen are actually our eyes and ears out in the water. And we have several, we have an app where they can contact us through, and our website, and they can tell us, like, we saw dead snook, or we saw snook with sores and lesions. So these are the kind of things that we monitor. We also look out for major fish kills. And when there are mortality events in the state of Florida, we work with our partner groups like the Harmful Algal Bloom to try to figure out why the fish are dying. A lot of the times in our waters, and most people are familiar with red tide, and red tide is a mortality causing problem event. So what happens is that we have to monitor the waters so that we can sort of tell people what's going on. There's no treatment for red tide, so it's not like anybody's going to go out there and treat it, but we can at least predict sort of where it's going to be. We can give people advice for what to do when there's a red tide. And then also we monitor the species that are affected by the red tide.
So sometimes fishermen find interesting things. Recently you had an interesting find off Davis Island.
Yes, we did. It was quite the story for how fishermen are really our citizen scientists out in the community. We had a call from a gentleman in Davis Island, and he told us he had found a dead sturgeon. That sturgeons have not been seen in Hillsborough Bay since, I think it was 2000, the last time. And so we went out with our federal partner agency, which is NOAA. We contacted U.S. Fish and Wildlife again because this is a federally protected species. So we went out on site and picked up the animal. It was a male. We brought him back to our lab, and the interesting thing is that we were allowed to, by the federal government, process it, and we were able to get samples for genetics, fish contents like stomach contents, what has he been eating, is he a male, is he genetically related to any of the animals that are in the Suwannee River or in other parts of Florida. Is there a tag that's very interesting? If he was released as a young sturgeon from any of the facilities, they put a tag on him. So that would have been interesting. I don't think we found a tag.
So what would be your message to middle school girls that may be thinking about a STEM career?
If you like biology and you want to be part of the conservation issues that can, the state of Florida, we have environmental parts that are so different. In the middle of Florida, you have salamanders and reptiles that need to be protected, and then here in Apollo Beach, you have manatees that need to be protected. So you're going from a large megafauna type animal to tiny little sparrows and salamanders that need help. And so if somebody is interested in that sort of mentality of protection and conservationist, then anything. There's so many choices. You can be in the lab like myself, processing fish gut contents and looking for parasites, or you can be out in the field monitoring manatee populations and where they're going. Are they, tagging them? Are they sick? So there's a wide range of different things that somebody can go into.
So Mike, it would be hard for me to imagine waking up one day to say that I want to examine fish guts.
Probably me too, so.
Right. Well, we have some other interesting women to hear from and talk to, and so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a break now, and please join us when we come back to hear more about this exciting event, the Women in STEM, that occurred March 8th, 2018 here in Pinellas County Schools.